Now, Holly, about 2 weeks ago, you lost your spot on the Senate pre-selection ticket. You were the top of the ticket. You're now number 4. That's considered an unwinnable spot, or it is an unwinnable spot. Instead, the number 1 on the ticket is one of your colleagues, Andrew Bragg. How do you feel? You know, there's been a lot of discussion within the Liberal Party about prioritising women, and I think the Sky audience, the Sky viewers, would know you as a very strong woman who campaigns for a lot of issues, not the least of which is anti-Semitism. How do you feel about being moved down to number 4 and replaced by a man?
Look, Andrew was always going to get pre-selected. At the end of the day, he's backed by the moderate faction within the Liberal Party, and they have been the dominant faction in the New South Wales division for a while. So he was always going to get there. The other people that were running against me, and I find it a little bit insulting that for some people there's a bit of an attitude you can replace one woman with another and it doesn't matter. I think you do need to look at merit. I think you need to look at experience, and I need to think, you know, what the contribution that's been made and could obviously continue to be being made would be considered. Unfortunately, it came down to about 150 pre-selectors in New South Wales who decided that I was not that woman to continue serving the party. It has been met with shock and horror pretty much across the parliament, all sides of the parliament. So, you know, it is what it is, though. That's what the New South Wales division has decided to do.
I understand that Peter Dutton didn't have anything to do with this, but the Shadow Treasurer, Angus Taylor, did. Is that right? Yeah,
so he certainly wrote a reference for another woman who was running in the race that she would make a great contribution. So the question was raised at the time, not only by Andrew and myself, who are current shadow ministerial colleagues of Angus Taylor's, but also, you know, which one of us, and a lot of our other colleagues raised the point, which one of us should be being replaced. So now we know what the intention was behind that. This is unprecedented,
really. Are you disappointed in Angus Taylor for doing that?
It's unprecedented for a colleague to actively campaign against other particularly shadow ministerial colleagues. Peter Dutton and Susan Lee run a very, very strong, united team. I think this has probably exhibited more personal ambition than ambition for the team, which is something that, you know, I wish Angus hadn't done. Yeah, I think that his personal ambitions got in the way of keeping the unity in the team. Well, he's gone against Peter Dutton here. Peter Dutton had given a reference to Andrew Bragg and myself that he wanted to keep his shadow ministerial team together. And I think, you know, really Dennis Shanahan probably summed it up in the Australian best earlier when he said that Angus Taylor has to get serious about detail and present a more mature alternative in Parliament. And I don't think anyone could say it better than Dennis there. It's interesting that he's spending more time on factional politics in New South Wales, I think, than perhaps his portfolio.
Yeah, very, very strong remarks there, accusing the Shadow Treasurer of spending more time on
I don't know whether he spent more time, but he certainly showed some. And the history, you know, has always been, even if you don't like a colleague, you don't actively campaign against them.
No, indeed. Andrew Wallace, just to get your reaction to Peter Dutton's comments on the net zero target, he's now saying, or he has been saying for a while, that it doesn't look like the 2030 targets are going to be met, so we should push it back to 2050. What's your reaction to that?
I think there's probably only one person in the world who thinks that Labor will get us to 43% reduction by 2030, and that's Chris Bowen. Nobody believes that that's going to happen, particularly with the framework that they've laid out, the amount of solar panels that need to be laid on a daily basis, the amount of wind turbines that need to be constructed on a daily basis. It's just not going to happen. So we're committed to ensuring that we get to net zero by 2050, absolutely, but we want to ensure that we effectively hold the government to its commitments that it has made. You know, the reality is it's almost impossible for it to achieve it. But look, you know, the comments that Cameron Milner made earlier were really appropriate. Very few people are now talking about this. What people are absolutely focused on is cost of living.
Yeah, indeed.
The average
All right.
Australian
Apologies,
mortgage.
Andrew, but we are out of time right now. I've got to get to Kosher Garden.